out on a few months. It's
cool.
Yeah, that's not the optimistic.
Gate, I mean.
No,
It's not that far.
I was wanting to say yes.
Good morning. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I ask Craig. Craig, will you say a prayer for us?
Let's open our meeting with prayer. Father, thank you for the day that you've given us today. You are such a good and loving and merciful God. Your mercies are new every morning. Father, your loving kindness extends to all generations. Father, we think about your word and the promises that are contained there. And we know we don't deserve what you freely bestow upon us and the blessings you give us. We know that. And we thank you for doing it. Thank you for loving us, Lord, and looking beyond our faults. Help us, Lord, to do a good work today, that we would think about all of the issues that confront us today, that we would be mindful that we have to be wise, we have to be considerate, we have to think about all of the interests in Rankin County. And so we need your wisdom to be able to do that well. These things we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Looks like we have some public comments. Do we want to take those now or when we get to them in the planning?
Yes, sir. I think in planning, we'll do planning commission and do public comment.
Okay. All right. Let's move over to our planning commission and call planning commission to order. And we'll start with approval of our old minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Brad, second by Jared. Any other comments? Passes. All right, all in favor? Yeah. Sorry about that. All right. New considerations. We have Dork South Inc. conditional use.
Steve,
Oh, I
back
skipped
up.
over. I'm sorry for I got some new glasses that's coming. These are not just the last glasses, but the glasses before those. Under old business, Verizon Wireless conditional use. That's District 1.
Yes, if y'all would like to review anything. If not, that hearing is scheduled for Monday.
I don't know, do you have anything we need to review?
Nothing
Nothing
new.
new? I just think wait then.
Has anyone called on it for that?
All right. Let's move on to new
I'm
considerations.
trying to help you out, Steve.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. Good morning. The first item under new considerations is the conditional use permit for Doric South Incorporated at 4136 Highway 471. They're seeking the conditional use permit to operate a storage facility and office space for Doric South monuments and vaults. This is a, I think that was my phone, I'm sorry. This is a property that's zone C2. It's a 4.13 acre parcel. It's located on the southeast corner of Highway 471 and Highway 43. There's an existing building on the property that's going to be used for an office and storage area for concrete and bronze markers. These are views of that building. They also plan to store a maximum of 30 concrete burial vaults behind the building inside this fenced area. They will not do any production of vaults or monuments on the property. They're saying this is a temporary location. They plan to occupy the property for 6 months while they look for a permanent building.
That's where,
It was a trailer
yeah,
sales.
trailer, and
Yeah.
it's been equipment sales there
yes.
before. You know.
He's asking for 6 months. Can we flag that and bring it back to us in 6 months? And
He may need a little
Because it's
more
gonna be
than that.
permanent, he needs to make some
park.
changes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, we can, if that's what y'all would like.
This is saying,
That'll be one of the conditions that you would set. When is that hearing?
It's going to be 5-1.
It's gonna be on Monday.
is a representative in here from Doris? No? They're the same ones, I guess, on, after 49 on, for Pocahontas. That's where they make them,
I'm not sure.
yeah. Out there, on the left.
I know where you're talking about.
Yeah, right, what's the golf course up there? Yeah. Just before you get to the golf course,
All right. We want to set this,
In the
Big
next
manufacturer
section, we
there.
Okay.
will,
okay,
with the
all right,
others, if that's okay.
let's go to the next one.
All right. All right, so the next item is a conditional use permit for Pinnacle Motors LLC at 96 Baker Lane. They're seeking the conditional use permit to add the sale of sheds and utility trailers to their existing vehicle sales business. This property is located on the southeast corner of Highway 471 and Baker Lane. The property is Zone C2, and it's a 1.61 acre parcel. That's an aerial view of the property showing the existing building and the cars that have been placed for sale. This is his site plan. He's proposing to put the trailers on the south property line here, 6. The maximum would be 6. And then he shows the shed off the Baker Lane side. There's an existing gravel driveway that comes in, and he's showing the sheds placed in this area. All the access is from Baker Lane to the sheds. These are views of the property.
I've looked at it, and if he'll do what he's saying, and I believe he will, limit the number, new trailers and new sheds. I would like to put maybe a 3-year term on it, and the reason is that part of the county is changing so fast. Right across, well, that road is the line between Flowood City and this. So if we can revisit this in 3 years, maybe it hadn't changed, but maybe it's changed a lot.
Okay, we can make that one of the conditions.
Okay.
That's on schedule for
Mon-
Monday also.
Okay,
Steve, another condition probably should be that the conditional use permit is not transferable without Board of Supervisors authorization. And so that way, if the gentleman decides that he's gonna sell his operations or transfer ownership, then we would need the board to be a part of that discussion. So those two conditions, a limitation of a 3-year term on the conditional use, and then a limitation on transfer without board authority.
Yeah.
Those would be reasonable in light of your discussion.
okay. Let's move on.
Okay, so, the next section is to set those public hearings, please.
Motion to set these 2 hearings?
1 and 2, Jay, together?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll second.
All right. Jay makes a motion, Brad seconds it. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
All right, next is a site plan architectural review for Berry Chalk on Andrew Chapel Road. Mr. Chalk is proposing construction of an office warehouse facility on this property. It's 2.58 acres, and it's zoned I-2, heavy industrial. The I-2 zone would allow this use. This is a view of that, an aerial view of that property. The property backs up to the railroad track on the south side. And then this is his site plan. He's showing 4 buildings. 3 of them will be future. What we're approving today would only be building 1, shown here. The building will be 6,250 square feet. He's proposing a gray metal building, shown here. There'll be 5 units of 1,250 square feet. He's proposing a galvalume roof and 3 feet of brick along the perimeter of the entire building. Parking areas and driveways will be concrete. And if it's approved today, it would need to be done contingent upon approval of the drainage plan. Mr. Chalk is here today if you have any questions for him, and these are views of that property. And these are surrounding properties. And these are views from businesses on 80.
have a picture of the parcel, the subject parcel as depicted from Highway 80. There's some vegetative
Yeah.
screening already in place there, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know when we get ready to have something produced, a layout, what it's gonna look like.
Wait, the building itself?
No, from the entrance, as
Oh.
far as screening goes, fencing, whatever,
Okay.
landscaping.
I don't know that we have anything.
It's a
currently.
railroad track
The
that you go
railroad's
across.
behind
I
it.
mean, they're not gonna have any screening right there on that
Yeah,
railroad
it's-
track.
You
It's
can't
cleared
see
on
it
the
from
right of way
80.
for the railroad
So you
track.
can't see it from 80?
You can't see the back, I mean, the back, the railroad track runs between 80 and it.
Right.
That's
See,
correct.
this
Oh,
is-
the railroad tracks to their back?
This is the view of
Yeah,
the
there's a
railroad
railroad
track.
track right there, and you see the
there.
screening.
He's going,
Actually, Jay, the railroad track is in front. It's
in
between.
front of-
It's between the plan.
It's between.
Front.
and
Where those
Highway
trees are on the
80.
left
is
Track
80 on the other
Highway
side.
80.
Yeah,
yeah,
so we go in
and so
between
this,
80 and the railroad.
Look at the,
No.
He's on the other
Look at
side.
the picture right there.
Behind the
Other side.
railroad.
you see,
so
on the
those
side.
See
trees
that?
are
That's
in
a-
place, you
yeah,
know,
that's 80 right
behind
there.
those businesses on 80,
Oh.
and then the railroad track, and then this is his
Right.
I got
property.
You can't see anything.
Simple.
He's screened from Highway 80 is what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some vegetative screening along Highway 80 that would prevent a view of this site from Highway 80. You
Sounds
gotta
good.
get on to Andrew Chapel to see all of the proposed development, is my point.
Do y'all have any questions for Mr. Chalk?
I don't. Well, Renee and I talked about it and I've driven by the area. I don't think that this is a place that people want to build a home. It's right, I mean, joining the railroad tracks, which is good for them if they ever want to ship. This type business is about the only thing. I don't even think that a law office or a dental office or anything like that would want to build there. So
It's so close to the air
Yep.
gas facilities.
Yep,
It's,
it fits.
What is it, about a half mile from Edmonds, development that's very similar
Yeah.
to what's being proposed here. So it's definitely in keeping with that industrial, flavor that's already out there, Steve.
All right.
Hang on.
I think
So
Barry's
if you,
here. Did
if
anybody
you wanna
wanna-
approve it today, it'd just be contingent upon the drainage, if that's.
Okay, well, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, I made a motion, Jay second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes.
Okay, the next item is a site plan architectural review for Hickory Ridge Baptist Church at 319 Hickory Ridge Road. The church is proposing an addition to the existing church of 10,300 square feet. It is 7.65 acres. The existing church is located on 7.65 acres. It's zoned RE1A. That's an aerial view of the church. And then this is their site plan. They're going to be adding, enlarging the sanctuary on the front and the rear of the building. And they're also adding a 2-story classroom addition along the front of the existing building. And so this is the sanctuary area that will be enlarged here and here. And this is the 2-story classroom addition. The addition will match the existing building in materials and colors. It's brick and stucco. These are the elevations of the building. And then this is their rendering.
Yeah.
This is just their floor plan. You can see, again, the seating for the sanctuary areas that's being added. This is the lower level for the classrooms. And this is that upper level.
It's just a review, see.
These are views of the church. And representatives are here today if y'all have any questions for them.
I don't have any questions. I mean,
These are surrounding properties.
there's no pushback in the community, I assure you.
Can we go ahead and
Anything?
approve?
We just,
Go ahead and approve.
I don't know, do we approve it?
yes.
We can approve it
If
today?
you want to, today's the
Okay,
day.
all right, I didn't know whether it was just because it's under review. All right, no, I mean, I think we have to approve it pending the
Drainage plan.
The drainage plan, that's standard, but I make a motion to approve it, pending drainage plan.
Second.
All right, Jared makes a motion, Brad seconds it. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Y'all understand the drainage deal that you have to get with the,
Jerry, I'll say they have been submitted.
Okay.
I got them yesterday, and I had some comments, and I emailed the engineer back, so we're working through that.
okay, all right.
In-
Sounds like we got it going forward then. Okay, sounds good.
Thank y'all for
Thank you.
coming.
Thanks.
All right, the last item is a site plan architectural review for Mount Zion Baptist Church at 2194 White Road. They're proposing construction of a 6,000 square foot metal building. This is, property is zoned A. That's a view of the existing church, and this is their site plan. The building will be used as a fellowship hall, and they will also have a two-story, it'll be a two-story building. The lower level will be the fellowship hall, and the second floor will be classrooms. These are the elevations of the building. And the building will match the existing church in materials and color. These are views of the church. And that building will be going back here.
It's gonna match this building, right? In that
Well,
way, I understood.
right, because part of the existing church is metal. I hope you can see it very good.
Look like
It's
the
metal, and
sides.
they
yeah.
said that they would match as best they could. I'm not sure if anybody's here today with
don't
the
think
church
so.
or not.
No, I don't think so.
But if approved, it would need to be done contingent upon the drainage plan being approved
I'll
as well.
make that motion, do it the same way.
I'll second it.
There's not anybody here with
right.
them.
Same way, got Jared making the motion, Brad second.
Tim, have you
Any
got
other?
anything on that?
I've got the calculation this morning,
Okay, all right. Well, they understand that. All right,
Any other discussion?
anything?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we move to nuisance property.
Mr. President, the first item under nuisance, I'm doing a little curveball here. Since we already have Mr. Chalk here, we're just gonna put him under nuisance property considerations. I noticed when we were going through the pictures of the site there, it looked like the grass needed to be cut. Mr. Chalk, I just wanted to make sure you were, okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure we got that out of the way. It looks like we can close that matter since
We don't
Mr.
need
Chalk,
to go to justice court.
Ms. Chalk's gonna comply. So I do appreciate that. You know, we have a lot of trouble out of Mr. Chalk from time to time, so got to keep him on his toes. Nuisance property considerations, the first item is, I'm going to struggle. Guillermina Magana Bautista nuisance property. I butchered that. 124 Rosalie Avenue, it's District 1 property. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask that anyone here to speak on behalf of Miss Bautista? I think. Usually when you see the A at the end, gentlemen, that's female. So I'm gonna say that that's probably Miss Bautista.
You're way ahead of me.
Anyone here on her behalf can make their way to the podium, and Renee will demonstrate the photos.
All right, so we received a complaint February 22nd of this year in regard to rubbish and debris on the property. The certified letters were delivered. We haven't had any response. These are views of that property that were these pictures were taken February 22nd.
You ain't current, they're the same.
We do have some current. These are the ones that were taken yesterday.
Well, kinda.
Okay,
Better.
well, I don't think we got any choice to declare a nuisance. Move on.
Is Ms. Batista here? Obviously
Volunteer.
not. Gentlemen, unless you have further discussion within the context of the public hearing, we'll close that hearing.
Well,
At
you
this time,
might
it'd be
be
appropriate.
calling, saying the name wrong, nobody understands. You're not.
Yes, sir, you're
Is
right.
anybody here for this nuisance property?
Make a motion. on it.
Yeah, I made most, go ahead.
All right, Jared, makes a motion to call it a nuisance.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Brad seconds it. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Gentlemen, if I fail to close that hearing's closed. Item number 2, Mr. President, is the Homer R. Moak Estate nuisance property. This is at 191 Wesley Street. This is District 1 property. I'll ask if anyone is here to speak on behalf of the Homer R. Moak Estate, please be prepared to come forward.
All right, so, we've had this property, multiple times. We got a new complaint February 7th about this structure being built, without a permit. These pictures were taken on the 7th. The certified mail was delivered. We've not had a response.
Is anybody even living in it? Or is it just on the property?
I'm not really sure.
Look like a chicken coop.
Somebody living in it.
These are the new pictures.
Adding to it.
Can we tell whether power is
I cannot.
is that the?
You're probably scared to walk out there. I don't,
I see a power line running.
but if we had it before, has anything been done to it before?
No.
I think this is a new issue.
Oh, this is a new addition?
Well, they've built the structure there. It used to be an old dilapidated manufactured home.
You say we've dealt with this before?
We have, but, Mr. Moak is deceased.
He just passed away.
What we've
Well-
been
Well, I
instructed
don't know if
by
it's him,
Justice
but
Court,
it was.
Jay,
I
that
don't
if
know
it is
this
a
one.
matter of title ownership in an estate, that Justice Court does not want to deal with it. That,
This-
you know, the obvious reality of an estate situation where someone's passed away and so it's now in an estate in terms of ownership, is that you've got to have some sort of finality from a court order within the context of the estate proceeding to know who, in fact, are the owners. That requires typically either a will that is being probated that establishes who will be the successors in interest to the real property by virtue of the will. If there's no will, you've got to go through an estate administration process, which requires what's known as a determination of heirship. So Justice Court is in a position where they don't know who the owners are, and so they can't get service on an owner, which is what's required under our ordinances for there to be an action related to a nuisance consideration. We gotta have an owner, a property owner. So what we have done previously, by the way, there are a couple of matters that you've already authorized. We've actually filed suit on behalf of the board using our property maintenance code and state law 195105 that allows us to take action as a county to remediate a nuisance property. There's been 2 that you guys have authorized. One of them is Ms. Johnson in Jared's district, Valerie.
Oh, yeah.
And so that process is moving forward, and eventually we're going to be in a position where a court order can be obtained and protect the county to take action to remediate that nuisance. So we're moving through that process. But that's an example. That's not an estate matter, but that's a matter where we're concerned that we don't have an owner with capacity.
No, we
Therefore, we
don't.
needed some court activity to help us with that. So this would be similar. If it is the intention of the board to take action itself, we probably need to use the court process, similar to what we're doing in the other 2, to move forward. It will cost the county money. We typically will only do that if we have some confidence that there's enough property there to justify the expense that's going to
How
be
big is
required.
that lot? It's
An acre.
acres, that's it. I don't know, that's exciting.
I'd say try to wait and see if somebody takes it over
Mm-hmm.
and then make a
Yeah.
run at it.
I don't know what else to do, that at least gives me an answer to have. I mean, it doesn't even, it doesn't even look like it's anything.
If nothing's done to it, I mean, well, would someone need to come forward to the court to try to get ownership? Or would it, if it just could it sit forever with no action at all?
You know, there's not really a mechanism, Jay, outside of a tax sale situation. There's not a as long as the taxes are being paid by somebody, it can sit in that estate indefinitely.
This is a different Renee, is this a different moat? One of them just passed away.
The one right next door.
Huh?
The one right next door just passed away.
Really? I'm assuming they are, Larry.
Gotta be related.
You know,
We,
moat, you know.
we've had some contact, in the past from, I think, the grandson maybe.
You do have the option, regardless of the ownership position, as it relates to the property. The board does have the authority under 19.5105 to declare it a nuisance and to act to clean it up. We don't have to have the court process to do that.
What do you mean act? Think of it.
You have statutory authority to send out either a contractor or county crews.
Oh, yeah.
And
but-
incur the cost to clean it up. There's limitations on how much you can apply as a lien, but that lien can go and attach for whatever costs are associated with it up to a max amount.
Doesn't look like it take long to clean that up.
Yeah, then it'll go through the tax sale. It will go through the tax sale. The problem is that once you get enough expense associated with the property,
Right.
it gets beyond the reach of anybody wanting to bid on
Right,
it.
right.
So then you
I
just
don't know
got.
what to do, let's just sit there and see if somebody comes forth. I
Do
guess
we
this
have
would be
the
the best thing.
authority for it to be determined, have it condemned to where the electricity is for sure turned off?
It didn't
I
like
think
it.
what we can do is notify, whatever the
Company.
appropriate power company is, notify them that this is a nuisance property, and that power should not be connected.
I don't think anybody lived, look
I
at the
just,
yard.
I can see a line running to it. I don't know if it's got a meter on the back.
I don't know, do you have any more pictures?
See it right
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
And
service line, yeah.
It looks like curtains or something over that window. It may encourage them, if there is
Yeah.
someone staying there.
I'm betting they got power.
Yeah.
So we need to notify the appropriate power company.
Before, well, I don't want anybody to burn in there. And it looks like a good prospect.
I mean, I guess you just walk in, I don't see any way you drive into it.
I don't know. All right, well, let's make a move. What are we gonna do?
I don't think we can declare it a nuisance, but
Well-
other than that, I don't.
Well,
So we've got nothing that we can do with it. If the intention would be to move it to
Can't
justice
send it
court,
up.
they're not gonna accept it, since it's a
Yeah, I
state
know,
matter.
they've made that clear, I
So
understand.
think
Let's just
that's,
reach out to the power, who provides power
Who's
to
paying,
it.
who's paying the power?
yeah,
Who
so,
pays the
so,
taxes?
We
so
don't know,
if
and
I
I'm
can
not sure they'll
suggest,
tell us that, but
Well, can we tell who's paying taxes?
the taxes or the power?
Taxes and power, but
It was
taxes.
redeemed by Joey Moe.
Joey Moak, redeemed
That was
it
Joey.
last year.
He's one just passed away then, I bet you.
Well,
I mean, there was a Joey Moat, and I think he just passed away.
yeah, I'm not sure what his father's name might have been either.
So I'm wondering if Joey, they gotta be connected.
Well, somebody be getting the taxes in.
so I would suggest, Jared, let's go ahead and declare it a nuisance, move to declare it a nuisance, okay? That way we can tell the power company, the board has declared it a nuisance. And my hope would be that they will go and disconnect power, which would then, I hope, would drive someone to get in touch with Renee to figure out what we're gonna do.
Well, yeah, that's an okay idea, but I'm kinda like Steve, hate to see him. I don't know what they burn, well, they just burn up and get hot, I guess. and that's
Oh,
what
they
burn up.
built a fire in there this winter.
It's too cold, it's not that cold right now, but,
Yeah,
yeah.
all right,
It'd be something to reach out, and just see if we can get some attention on
Yeah.
it.
let's,
I think we're gonna need the nuisance declaration to be able to communicate that to the utility company.
All right, I make the motion to declare it a
Yeah,
nuisance.
I
All right.
second it.
Jay's made motion, declared a nuisance.
Yeah.
Jared seconds it.
Dang, it looks like a tree
Any other
going up.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's move on.
Looks like a
That
sycamore.
hearing is closed. The next matter is the Timothy Curtis Hall nuisance property at 120 Rankin Road, District 4 property. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask Mr. Curtis or anyone on his behalf to be prepared to come forward and address the board. Ms. Renee will demonstrate with the photos.
All right, so we received a complaint March 16th of this year about rubbish and debris, inoperable appliances, and inoperable vehicles. We've worked this property before as well. These pictures were taken March 16th.
I think we've had it here before.
Okay. I looked at it yesterday and it still looks like that. And, we worked this property like she said. It went to justice, got cleaned up somewhat and it's back. I'm gonna send it back to justice with the note that they have handled it before. Hopefully it'll get some attention. All right, I have a motion by myself for nuisance, second by Jay.
Excuse me, I have something to say on that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
I'm Timothy Curtis Hall. The, issue you had previously
Was,
that was resolved because y'all brought me into court over my brother's property that his grass was not cut. And I was brought in court thinking that it was my property, and it was my property until I gave it to him.
oh,
Now, y'all did not have it registered to him at that time. Now, this is my property and this is my mess. I'm not denying that.
this is.
Yes,
You're at, just a second, because I looked at two addresses. I may
you're
have-
right. There's 116 and 120 Rankin Road.
That's right.
I previously owned both.
Well, okay, well, let's clean it up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm gonna do that immediately.
Okay, you got 30 days.
I was arrested and I was charged with a crime. I've been in court for the past month several times. I haven't really had time.
Well, that
I-
stuff didn't fall out of the air. You
No,
had
sir,
time
it
to put
didn't.
it there.
When I lost my job, I started scrapping, and that's what it is, a
Okay.
collection of metal, so I can take it to
Alright.
the
Okay.
scrap
Okay.
to make an extra income.
Whoever's property it is.
Yeah.
Please clean it up. 30
Look,
days.
just a little more time, I'll
We'll-
get that
let's-
taken
30
care of.
days,
Let's
do it.
review it
30
in 30
days, do it for you.
days.
But
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
days to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
30
Well,
days,
I'm
Renee.
good. I'm good with
Flag.
30 days. You
All right, I make a motion that
You
we
wanna declare
table
it?
this for 30 days and we
Okay.
Declare it a
revisit.
nuisance,
And,
but-
okay, yeah.
Yeah, that'll give you
Okay.
30 days.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all right. Have a good day.
So
I'll-
you
I'll
motion,
second
Steve,
that
it's gonna
motion.
be declared a nuisance.
Yeah.
And give 'em- yeah.
And 30
Okay.
days before
Yeah.
we do
And I'll-
anything
and
with
I'll
it.
second.
We'll pull it off the table. 30
While I'm here,
days.
can I ask a question for Clarence?
Well, you
Okay.
might not get the
I
answer you
don't,
want.
might not, but, and I don't wanna make anybody mad. I'm just, the person who complained didn't come to me,
Okay.
okay?
They usually don't.
That could have resolved it at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Now, I say that because my ex-wife lives in Arkansas. She has called officials down here over and over again. I've had to go to court over and over again because of her calling and complaining of many different, okay? And without knowing the person who complained or being able to confront them, I don't know that they have standing, even though I need to clean it up.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
Why is it a public nuisance when a single individual, yeah, they're wasting y'all's time.
Yeah.
Why can't they address the issue through the court or whatever as a private nuisance?
I
They
wish
just
they
don't.
could.
Well,
Or-
this
or
is the
just come to
method-
me and
This
ask
is the
me.
method to make that happen, you know, and everybody, we're here to try to protect the property values that we have,
Right.
so.
I understand that, and I'm not arguing it needs to be cleaned up. I just, why are they wasting y'all's time? Yeah.
Well, that's just the
It
only
should
tool
went through
they
another
have.
avenue.
Only tool they have really to go through,
Okay.
to prevent a
All right.
confrontation.
Timmy, thank you. We gotta move
Appreciate
on.
your help
Okay.
on
We
this.
gotta move, all right, I made the motion, I think Jay seconded the motion for nuisance, but table it for 30 days, give him time to get it cleaned up.
Okay.
We got motion by myself, second by
Second.
Jay, I think
Okay.
Jay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any, okay, motion passes.
Next meeting.
Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 30th at 9 a.m. This planning commission is adjourned. Let's move now back over to our board meeting. They are,
Got public comment? Yep.
that was on my church.
So they're done then?
I guess so, yeah. All right, I shall call this meeting to order. And we have some public comments. They were regarding, I believe, the churches, if I'm not mistaken. Is it, no, Hickory Ridge is gonna be the,
Yeah, that's
tower.
gone. No.
No,
Hickory Ridge is
just the
gone.
churches?
Just
Okay.
call the guy
No.
and see what he was.
All right.
Why they on public comment?
Is, Daniel Woodridge. No. That's, okay, all of them,
Yeah.
Tosh, Young, Fant, okay. Jay put me up to that. He just
Nobody
wanted
got a
to
sign?
call it.
I'm trying to give you all, I hope I can, man.
I need it. All right, we're gonna call it to order, and we got through public comments. We got Tim Parker with Bluffs Landing final plat. Tim and I have discussed this. Come on, Tim.
Yes, sir, this is Bluffs Landing. We're recommending approval of the final plat. That's the District 4 development. Discussed at the last meeting, and there were some issues with an easement. They've addressed that on the plat, so we're prepared to recommend approval of
Okay.
the final plat.
If y'all don't remember, there was a issue with where the easement was gonna be. We resolved that, but he needed reflected on the final plat to get it approved, and that's where we're at. And I make a motion that we approve the final plat.
Second.
All right, I made a motion, Daniel seconded.
This the final plat you approved?
They fall under 10-acre lots. All right, we have a motion by myself, second by Daniel. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, Hicks.
Morning, gentlemen. Item A is just authority to provide funds to the Discovery Christian School for graduation pursuant to Code Section 199103 for advertising resources.
Make motion approved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Jared, a second by Calhoun. Any discussion? I have a question. Nothing, I don't know this church or any other, but on advertising, for some reason I thought we had a limit of like $200.
This is project graduations.
Oh, this is
school.
project graduation, okay. I thought he said
Yeah.
advertising.
Well, it's, you know how to do
The
that.
basis for the participation is the advertising that is authorized under 1991.
Okay.
That's where they all are.
Okay,
But y'all have a different limit if it's a project
Right.
graduation project, okay?
Yeah.
If it's just
I
a
understand.
school
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
ad deal,
Yeah.
there's a limit on that.
You're right, we are.
But when it's the graduation
It's
piece of
just a
this,
grad night check.
different limit.
So how many people attend this school?
I don't know, it's quite a few. They build a football field and everything now.
Oh, okay, I got you.
It's up to old Wesley College, and that's the one that, Jay, that, Carlo's daughter started.
Alright.
It's probably been 10 years.
Is
Yeah.
this the first year
No.
doing this?
Mm.
Yeah.
We did it last year.
We gave him 2,000 last year too?
let's, all right, we have
They've cleaned
we got
off
a motion and a
a pile
second.
of ground, building a football field, the whole thing. Yeah.
The other discussion was my question of how much we could give for advertising, but it falls in the category of project graduation, so we'll be, fine there, I guess. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Review of agenda and consent agenda for May 1st. I know we'll all study that and be back here ready to go Monday. Additional business to be discussed.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Dang it.
President, I have a couple items I want to discuss with you if I can. Steve, one of these probably is better suited for discussion, maybe after the board meeting. This was on Crossview Plantation. Just reminding you and the board, if it's appropriate to go ahead and have that conversation. We've got a developer who has relocated out of state, has not really been responsive, as responsive, I think, as he should be to the needs of completing that development and getting everything buttoned up. We've had pretty consistent discussions, but we've had to go through the extraordinary step of calling the letter of credit that was serving to protect that development, the completion of that development, and we have recovered those funds. The amount of funds recovered and in the possession of the county now is around $73,000 total. That was what the letter of credit was calculated to be at the first part. It is unlikely, Steve, given what we know the work that is required to be completed, it's unlikely that that will be sufficient to cover the cost.
Yes.
I will defer to the road manager and the engineer to make sure I'm not telling you the wrong thing about that, but I think that's kind of the conclusion we've arrived at. Some activity has gone on that's corrective in nature, some has, but it's far short of where it needs to be to get us to a point where we correct the issues that are there and finalize that development. So at some point, my sense is that we're gonna run out of patience waiting on the developer to do right.
My patience is already passed.
All right, so what we would want to do is to ask the board whether it's appropriate at this point to assume the developer is not going to comply and that we should proceed to complete the development. Use what proceeds we have from the letter of credit to take care of getting it to a point of completion. Anything above what we have from the letter of credit should be reduced to an amount that can then be sought from the developer.
I agree.
All right, so I would need a motion to authorize the road manager and the engineer to start working on all aspects of completing Crossview Plantation.
I would like to make the motion.
Is it 80% built out now?
I'll make that motion.
All right, does everybody understand we're gonna use the proceeds from the letter of credit? That's the developer's money, okay? So it's the bank's money that has been tendered to us. No pushback. They submitted the check immediately. And so we've been holding the funds for some time already. And so those are segregated. And so we can use those funds, which are the developer's money. We can use those funds to do the work that developer should do, but is refusing to do, is unwilling or unable to do. And then we're gonna have to add some county dollars on top of that to finish the work. I don't have any idea what we're talking about.
I'll see that.
This has been going on for more than a year.
Oh, yeah.
And it's gotten, of course, it's deteriorated since we have gotten in a,
Right.
okay.
Well, I wonder why is he not going ahead and put the final wearing surface?
I don't understand why we can't get compliance, Jay.
And how much money did we have? 30?
We've got 73
Oh,
in
73.
hand.
We don't know what it's gonna take though.
We think it's probably gonna be in the neighborhood of about 125.
Wow.
It's about 62 to put a final wearing surface on it. Now, if you remember, this is a subdivision that they supposedly put the final wearing surface on without calling the county for an inspection. So we got some, what they call the final wearing surface, but we made them go do cores and we still don't have the full asphalt thickness. So we told them as part of the filing of it, they gotta put a final overlay.
They got to overlay.
So that's that's 62 of the 73 there. There's some dig out base repairs and then a little bit of drainage work, so probably, I'm just off the cuff, another 50,000, so you're probably at 115,000 and you've got 73.
Oh, wow, okay.
So there will be an amount that we need to pursue the developer to recover.
I was gonna say, that's what I'm asking, so how are we gonna get involved?
Well, he has other ongoing work in the county right now.
It would be nice if we could stay within, get the job done and stay within the amount of money that's there, just to keep from having to go through all this.
Right, so this is gonna be a battle.
Yeah.
He does, he has two other developments.
I was talking about this one.
No, yeah, cause you start
Man, they
holding
got
it.
some asphalt there, why couldn't they bring it up to the level that is acceptable?
Yeah, Jay, at some point, he's gonna wanna complete those other developments as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
If
I
y'all
intend to
stop.
have a conversation with him. He's not gonna be able to move forward on his other developments until we've satisfied all of the obligations on Crossview Plantation that are owed to the county.
Yeah, and if we don't do it right, then we're gonna be going back and fixing it. It's gonna fall back on us anyway.
Well, we sort of set the bar
Mhm.
at a lower level if we go in there and do something
Right.
that we wouldn't accept.
Well, I wasn't saying that, I was just saying, is it possible to,
Well,
rather than
it
just
is,
going
I
out
mean-
there and laying 3 inches on,
Yeah, the two. So,
Jay is
just-
volunteering to go out there with some equipment and do the dig out
I
himself.
would, but it's against the law.
You do it on the side, Jay.
All right, I've made the motion. Jay, was it Daniel? You seconded it. Yeah, Daniel seconded it. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Was that to add I think that was to
Okay,
add Steve, so now I
okay.
need a motion to approve that.
Same motion, I make the motion to approve it, and do I have a second? Okay, Jay seconds it. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now, do we have any other
I have
business?
one other item of additional business, gentlemen. Last board meeting, you authorized what's called a change in assessment that was presented to you by our tax assessor, and it relates to the stored gas in the cavern owned by Gulf South Pipeline / Boardwalk Partners LP out of Houston, Texas, that's located in Flowood along Foxhall Road there. And so that stored gas has in it natural gas that is apparently, we are told by Gulf South, and they've represented in court, that it is customer gas since January of 2017. So they have been storing on behalf of customers, kind of in the nature of a warehouse location. They've been storing for customers natural gas in that cavern. They have failed and refused consistently, they being Gulf South Boardwalk, have failed consistently to provide Rankin County through the tax assessor's office with any meaningful information about, one, who their customers are, and two, how much stored gas they are holding for each customer. This is standard information that is provided to tax assessors by any warehouse operation that you would find in the county. They will tell you, we are a warehouseman and we hold stored personal property on behalf of these customers, and here is the information that you need to be able to back check or cross-check against what these customers are telling you they are holding. And Gulf South Boardwalk has refused to provide meaningful information. As a byproduct of the lawsuit, as a byproduct of that, they came forward and an apparent attempt to show some level of good faith. They finally provided us with the customer lists since 2017, and they have provided us only with what is called the maximum storage capacity that each customer is eligible to have in the cavern by virtue of some sort of agreement that Gulf South Boardwalk has with these customers to store their gas. There's a maximum amount of storage capacity that each customer is afforded. So they have not and tell us they will not provide us legitimate, actual storage volumes for customers. They've only given us the max storage capacity. I'm saying that for the benefit of those who may be here today. They need to understand and hear. So when I see on an objection to an assessment that Rankin County has failed to communicate any information with customers of Gulf South, I want anyone here to hear me saying all of this, to hear me also say to them, go take that up with Gulf South. Tell Gulf South to report legitimate information to Rankin County. And then we'll be able to communicate with customers of Gulf South. Okay? So you needed to get this update because today was the hearing date that they were noticed to come to. And so I'm opening that hearing to receive objections to assessments that have been placed and sent out for notification purposes. For purposes of the record, I want to give you guys a listing of a very brief, this won't take but just a second, but you need to know who it is that has raised an objection. So this is for purposes of the assessment. The vast majority of communications that I have received since the assessment notifications went out has been very cooperative and helpful and understanding. The vast majority. I've gotten no real pushback. I've gotten a lot of, we don't really know what this is about. Can you help us? I've gotten a lot of that. And so both the customer side and the county side has been put in a position of no man's land by Gulf South and Boardwalk's decisions, okay? And so we received an objection on behalf of an outfit called Sequent Energy Management Company. So I'm hoping that Jess, I've got all of these in email form, so I'm gonna provide the actual documentation of it, but I'm just gonna go through and give you a list of who has raised an objection. Sequent actually represents several companies, some of which may be on our list already, and so they are raising an objection on behalf of anybody on our list that they represent, okay? So that's there. Another one called, some of these are gonna sound like the same, Symmetry Energy Solutions LLC has requested, they requested that we consider this to be their objection for the purpose of allowing us additional time to get an accurate number on behalf of Washington Parish Gas Utility, the City of Gonzales, Louisiana, Entergy New Orleans LLC, Spire Gulf Incorporated, and Saint Amant Gas Company, Inc. I've received an email from a fellow by the name of Greg Dorris, D-O-R-R-I-S, of Magnum Gas Incorporated, and he has asked this to be considered an objection on behalf of the following customers: the City of Alto, Texas, the City of Appleby Natural Gas System, the City of Gary, Indiana, the City of Huntington, Texas, the City of Huxley, Texas, the City of Kaplan, Texas, the City of Newton, Texas, and the City of Pineland, Texas. And then some outfit called Pure Utilities LLC. So that will be received and as an objection. And then I received one from a Miss Brooke Ray on behalf of Atmos Energy, and she has requested additional time. That they're making this an objection, but she's saying, we know we owe the tax, we just want to make sure y'all have accurate data and not max capacity, because max capacity doesn't reflect accuracy. We want to make sure you have accurate data. And so Atmos Energy Corporation of Mississippi and Atmos Energy Corporation of Louisiana. We will receive all of those. Yesterday afternoon, after close of business, I received a notification from the Jones Walker firm in Jackson on behalf of Entergy Louisiana LLC and Entergy New Orleans LLC, which has already entered an objection, requesting and submitting a formal objection and raising certain arguments as to why the assessment is inaccurate or objectionable. And so we will receive this notification from the Jones Walker firm as an objection. Unless I've been misled, I believe that we have someone here from Entergy who may wish to address the board concerning the objection that's been raised on their behalf by the Jones Walker firm. So with the board's permission, I would offer this gentleman an opportunity to speak to the board about that. If he wishes to do so, we'll need a name and address, please.
Morning.
Morning, how y'all doing?
Good.
Name's Corey Grunz, I'm the tax manager with Entergy, here to represent Entergy Louisiana and Entergy New Orleans. I appreciate the information I just heard. This is the first time I'm hearing of it.
What's the address of your office, or your address?
Yeah, sure, 639 Loyola Avenue, that's New Orleans.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's really the main reason for our objection, is we had no information on what was going on here. And we just received the notice 2 days ago, and there's no detail on the notice as to what this was for, where the property's located. And so we were, as you can imagine, surprised that two companies that don't operate in Mississippi are being assessed property. So knowing a little bit more information about what's going on, we are happy to work with you to figure out and get into more details about what this property is and whether or not it is rightfully assessed to our companies.
Yeah, so I think it's, since Mr. Grunz is here, I'll just go ahead and make a few comments if I'm allowed. Couple
Your address.
things. Sir?
Your address.
Yeah.
Here.
Yes, sir. Can I give the board office address, Steve, just in case?
Yeah.
All right, so anyhow, it's a couple thoughts. I believe that the Entergy companies are gonna be able to, I mean, it's really simple. Entergy is a public utility. They are required to render the vast majority of their asset holdings, anything that's associated with their system, with their utility infrastructure. They're required to report that centrally. They report that to the Mississippi Department of Revenue on behalf of the Mississippi entities. The Louisiana entities, I'm not sure what they do, but we didn't send a notice to Entergy, the Louisiana companies. We didn't send a notice just because we wanted to. We were finally told by Gulf South Boardwalk that they are holding natural gas on behalf of these Louisiana entities in the Entergy system in the cavern in Flowood, okay? So I would take the position on the front end that Entergy Louisiana, Entergy New Orleans can really simplify this process. Show Rankin County on your renditions to the Mississippi Department of Revenue that they were told about the natural gas being held in the Rankin County cavern. If that was rendered to the Department of Revenue appropriately on their rendition forms, and if Rankin County received its appropriate personal property tax prorated percentage from that rendition, problem solved. They just need to produce the documentation. To their defense, they haven't had an opportunity to do that because they didn't know they needed to do that until this point, right? Why? Because Gulf South and Boardwalk have refused to provide accurate, adequate information to the tax assessor year after year after year. And at some point, they are going to have to cooperate so that this doesn't become a constant free-for-all for these customers and from my assessor's office. I'm absolutely tired of it, and it's time to get that straight. All right, that's my first comment. My second comment would be this. Mr. Gruns, unfortunately, has not had the benefit of, and has been asked to come in here and stand in front of you guys without any of the benefit or awareness of just what has been going on between this board and his company. Y'all recall, as I do, that they didn't hesitate to send us a bill for $1.1 million to do a utility relocation for Andrew Chapel. Didn't check up 1 minute.
We paid it too.
We paid it. And because of that, we have been on a multi-year disturbing roller coaster ride with our friends at Entergy. And so, yeah, I'm ready to be cooperative finally with them. I hope to find a cooperative and willing partner on the other side. I've been disappointed so far, but my hope is still there that eventually somebody's gonna figure it out and try to square up and do right by Rankin County. The fact that we still have gas that is stored here and personal property taxes that have escaped Rankin County, that bothers me. And so I'm ready to get it resolved, and I'm ready for the bigger picture with Entergy to finally be resolved as
Thank
well.
you. I think Corey's ready too.
I think I am too.
Yeah.
We are, as the tax representative, I am open to working with you to figure out what's going on here.
Sure.
And that's the,
Great.
Yeah,
we
I
want to
think
do
our
is
beef is really with
pay our
Mississippi
share.
guys, to be quite honest with you. I'm not really familiar
So-
with everything that goes on with Entergy. I do know this, they like to tell us to call New Orleans when we need help. So that's very frustrating. So I know there's some level of connection between the Mississippi bunch and the New Orleans bunch. I know there has to be, because that's where they refer all of our requests.
Okay, I'm gonna have to dig into the issue here because I am not at all.
Oh, it's a lot deeper than you
Yeah,
think.
it's pretty deep.
I'm sure I
Yeah,
can
you
get
just walk in.
It's deep.
Unfortunately, Corey, you got to hear all of that, and we're not prepared to hear any of that.
Nope, I wasn't prepared to know what was going on today with this gas, so,
Right,
you know, I'm happy to learn a little bit, so.
You're ground zero, but we're
Well,
way above.
Corey,
zero.
we've got some great eating places.
Okay, sure.
So grab you a bite on the way back
I sure will.
and be safe.
I sure will, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So gentlemen, what I would like to do now that we've gotten to the end of this piece of additional business here, I would like to ask that we receive and acknowledge receipt of the various objections to the assessment. Okay, that's number one. To recognize those as objections to the assessment and basically to enter into a cooperative process with those who have objected to arrive at an accurate assessment that can then be billed. Okay? For the purpose of everybody else that was on the assessment for change that did not raise an objection by today's meeting, I need you now to declare that those assessments are valid and we should issue tax bills in accordance with the assessments. So those are the two pieces that I need. Receive and acknowledge the objections that you have, declare all other assessments that for which no objection was raised to be valid, and issue tax bills.
All right.
So we need a motion to add this.
Do we need a motion to add it first?
Yes, sir, please. Let's add that and then approve.
I'll make a motion to add both items.
Second.
Second,
All right.
Mr. Morrison.
We have a motion by Calhoun, a second by Mr. Morrison. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, do we have a motion to receive these acknowledgements of our situation?
Objection to assessment.
Which
Yes,
would
sir.
be objection to the assessment. We need to arrive, and these are from my notes, at an accurate assessment with these people and I guess establish a bill.
That's correct.
All right, those no answer that we got no response from, they now have a valid tax bill with us, which would be the total capacity.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that correct?
Plus interest.
Okay, I didn't have
Plus-
that.
plus
interest,
collection. Plus collection
interest and
penalties.
collection. Okay, that would be the motion, and I'll make that motion. We have a second.
I'll second the motion.
All right, Brad seconds the motion.
Now, I'll play the tape back.
All in favor? No, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
I got additional business, if we done with that. Can I go first?
No, Steve's not gonna let y'all.
It's not.
Y'all know Monday was the first day they closed 18 Highway, and it was been a disaster ever since. We hadn't had any accidents so far, but I want to discuss the possibility of putting a no-haul ordinance in, because these 18-wheelers are still traveling 18 and trying to cut through on a 16-foot county road. And I got the list of the roads, and we're not getting a whole lot of help from the state.
I think we are aware of what you're talking about. Give us a little synopsis of what's going on down there for people that do not know.
All right. April the 24th was the day they were supposed to close Highway 18.
They being MDOT.
MDOT the contractor was scheduled to start on April 24th. The road was closed at 10 o'clock on April the 24th. It wasn't anyone from MDOT down there the day of the 24th.
Let me stop you. This has been planned for many months.
Years.
We have been in conversation with MDOT to try to come up with a solution for the traffic that's a state highway, Highway 18, that has many big trucks traveling it and a lot of automobiles. We've tried to work with them with an alternate loop.
We even offered to help put a bypass in.
To help pay for a little roundabout. We've done everything we could do to resolve this without just stopping the road and telling them to take another route that could be, 5 miles out of the way? Or more?
About 4 to 8 miles,
Okay.
depends on which direction.
And then that day came, and that's where Brad's starting.
And I mean, I've reached out to everyone that I know to call. I talked to Brad White, and he said, hey, it will work itself out in time. But, I mean,
But that day,
DPS.
there was no state employees flagging traffic or,
it was a state holiday.
what about the next day?
We had one MDOT guy down there that was having to move some signs. The signs that on the billboard signs weren't even accurate.
How would one guy stop traffic at two locations?
The sheriff's department stepped up and helped us at both ends on each side of the bridge and was detouring
Okay.
traffic and turning 18-wheelers back around. They're off, the 18-wheelers are supposed to be going, if they coming out of Puckett, hit 43 going to 20. The ones that's getting off here at the interstate at Home Depot, they're supposed to stay on the interstate and go to 43. But when they get off, there's really no place for an 18-wheeler to turn around. So they continue on down 18 highway. And when they get down there, they go through all 8, 9 signs that says road closed 2 miles ahead, and then when they get to the construction site, well, they nowhere to turn around. They turn around in Rivers Plant Farm, tearing their driveway up, tearing their asphalt up. And of course, yesterday evening, well, let me back up. DPS, I reached out to them. The head guy over there that's over the weight side, law enforcement side of it, said he'd have me a DPS officer. He had one day. The next day he sent 2. They were supposed to work from 7 to 7. At 5 o'clock yesterday, no one there. At 5:30, word would just happen to be down there and had to escort an 18-wheeler down a 16-foot road, get traffic off the road, clear the road out where this 18-wheeler could get through. But, I mean, nobody's down there monitoring after it gets dark or past 5 o'clock.
Well,
We got to have somebody.
5 to 7 would seem like a pretty busy time for that highway.
I would think 5 o'clock in the
People
evenings, a
leaving
lot of
from
people
work,
on
going home.
18 highway.
Okay.
And as far as me putting ordinance in, I mean, there are some local businesses around that we have been in touch with, and we are gonna provide them some haul permits to travel these roads.
And I'd like to add to
All right,
that,
go
Mr.
ahead.
Calhoun. I mean, so what we're catching right now, and I've been observing the roads just like Brad has. I mean, our interior county roads are getting tremendously impacted by this traffic.
Additional 5,000 to 6,000 vehicles are
Because,
traveling
I
on
mean,
these roads.
everybody's, like yesterday, they put a billboard in the wrong place. It said everything down through Star, you know, and back around the 49. I mean, we got Curtis Clifton, we've got Shell Oil, we've got Wade Patrick that's got a low weight bridge on it. I mean, we're getting impassed every which way by this traffic. Now, the bridge is substantial for car traffic, but it's not for big loads. And so I told Brad the other day, we've got to get something in place to be able to authorize these trucks to stop them.
You know, we had a supervisor one time, and I think I may have just been listening to tapes or something like that. I can't really remember. But Slay was the board attorney, and he crafted some kind of deal on no haul routes for trucks. And it was a fantastic idea because it addressed this type of issue because it was going through the neighborhoods and stuff like that. And then somehow this supervisor wasn't able to explain himself very well, and the no haul route died. And so
That was before me, I guess.
I don't think I was here either. I think I was living in spirit. But I guess what I'm saying is we've had that type of thing suggested, and we don't have enough love for the haul routes.
But I mean, when you get off at, you know, my thing is when you get off the ramp at cross gates, there ought to be a sign there that says 18's closed on the ramp, 2043 is your detour.
The problem is you're gonna have all these people with the trucks.
Yeah.
Call all the supervisors and light them up, and it works because that's how we destroyed the last no haul bond we had, or no haul routes we had. So I don't know if there's a solution. I don't know the solution. I'm with you. So if you're for it, I'm for it. I'm just telling you, I don't know that it's gonna have enough.
Well, I'm not saying, we need to keep some type of ordinance in place between now and 35 days from now, because that's when it's supposed to be done.
And I'm gonna refer to.
Kyle
Sheriff
Williams is a
Greg
good
on
source
that. I
to
don't think-
go contact him and see about, some type of draft.
He's already got
Word.
a folder.
I know.
Hey,
Come on.
all Kyle gotta do is reach down that left-hand drawer and pull that thing out, and there's a stack of stuff.
I
Right
like
there.
Mike
You remember
Word
that
and
stuff?
Brian
Yes,
to come in on this also.
Yeah, like I say, when the deputies aren't trying, or catching calls, I'm trying to keep a deputy down there, especially for 5 to 7, but all day long, I told them when they're not busy, keep somebody present there, keep those trucks, especially off of Clifton. And, like I say, the bad thing about it is once they come that far down 18, they have to turn around at Rivers, which again, tearing up there, cause
Yeah.
I've got complaints too, with traffic, I'm hoping that after about a week or 10 days of this, everybody's gonna learn, but we're really hoping that the state will come down there and stroke some of those folks for, some of those commercial vehicles, and, hopefully the water will get out, but I don't know, but I'm trying to keep people down there
Yeah.
at all times.
Right.
What if DOT came down and caught them, they say the low weight bridge? What could they
I
do?
mean, we've
Have
had
they-
DOT, that's who's
We've
been
had
down there.
DOT.
Well, I'm
but they-
saying, have they wrote tickets?
I'm assuming they probably wrote some
I'm
tickets.
assuming they have, Jared, but if they're not there, I mean, that's
So
just
do
like,
we have
some
just like
suggestions
Clifton
there?
and Kirsch, I mean, we got.
I do
I
have a
know what
suggestion.
What I'm
Brian
talking
said
about,
after
do you have any
that.
suggestions,
You know.
like, right now, y'all named several things, why don't we go to our transportation commissioner and have him address the issues that we can, as far as signage and whatnot?
Can I take bits and pieces of the discussion and let's just address them systematically if we can? First is, we can do a temporary ordinance that would provide for some level of enforcement, okay? So you would identify the roads that are no truck routes temporarily, right? And you would authorize, you would establish, in essence, you would create a position under that ordinance temporarily that provides for enforcement authority. The ability to stop and ticket.
On
Those-
county roads,
on
not
county
the
roads.
state roads.
Not the state routes.
We had an ordinance for that, remember?
Yeah, but it wasn't crafted the way it.
I don't think the ordinance that we have in place, that the subdivision road ordinance, Daniel, that you're referring to?
It was platted subdivision.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Those were just establishing no truck routes, but the enforcement piece, we never really got
Never got to it.
that
That's right.
finalized. So this would go farther than that, and it would be temporary. It would clearly define the roads that are off limits. It would provide, by the way, for a permit process, because we do have some truck traffic that cannot avoid coming along what would be an established no truck route, because it's the only way they can get to their place. I think
True.
about,
And we've reached out to those folks. and
Zach
talked to them.
Ainsworth, Rivers Plant Farm, there's several.
Well, Craig, a perfect example of that is, Southern Pine, they just will let Southern Pine go
Yeah.
down Church Road and fix a light.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said, no, Southern Pine.
Yeah,
go in there."
absolutely. So we would want to allow for a temporary permit process for those that we know are gonna need to have access, and we don't want them stopped unnecessarily where we could easily identify them by a physical permit that they keep in the truck with them, okay? So that's one idea. So you would have a temporary roads established, permit process, and enforcement authority. Okay? That would address what I would call your bad actors, the folks that know better and they just decide, those rules don't apply to me, I'm going. You want to be able to ticket those people, all right, and stop them and turn them around. So that would help with that piece. Now, the piece about going back to the commission or to the executive director at MDOT and asking for some help on what we know is already being damaged, that's a separate conversation that we need to have, but it can be a part of this. We're gonna need to get an audience with those guys and try to plead our case.
Well, it sounds like, if nothing else, we need to get some better signage and put it further up the road.
They don't have it. I called this morning. They wait, it's gonna be 2 weeks before they get any more signs.
What if we just do it ourselves?
I mean, it's a
Can we
state
do that?
highway. We don't have no billboard signs.
They're supposed to move mine, I have one that's supposed to move it.
Yeah, but I mean, through the permit process, I mean, MDOT permits it, and we've been dealing with the sign guys down there, and I've actually recommended that, and they said that was their contract.
There's 2 signs up here on 18 before we get to
I mean,
Brandon
they
High
got signs
School
up.
that they don't even know who
People
they belong to.
People just not reading them. I mean, that's the
Well, that's
problem. I
what,
mean,
well,
they
but
just,
I think one thing is they have the generic no truck sign, this,
Right.
that's what Brad and I were talking about that. I think we need a custom sign on Clifton Road that said, no commercial vehicles, you will be ticketed if you go down this
Yeah.
road. Have something that catches the eye a little bit better and do the ordinance, then the deputies in there, they can charge them.
Yep.
my thought was. and
You
I
say a
talked to-
deputy would be okay doing that?
Yeah, if it's in an ordinance
Uh-huh.
and it's worded properly, we gotta deal with, you gotta deal with the notice requirements that are in justice court. It's gonna be a misdemeanor offense. It's gonna be handled just like any other traffic violation. So we gotta have all the language that you would normally see in a traffic ordinance, Steve.
So do we need to add a position, an authority?
You know, my thoughts was is-
Deputies or,
If the sheriff's gonna allow the deputies to write tickets on the basis of that ordinance, you wouldn't necessarily
Do we-
have to have a separate.
well, I
enforcement
like
officer.
Brian answer that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, I'll do whatever I can to help, but, you know, we'll do like we did the animal control, we have a custom ticket made up just for this, to give, hey, this is what you write, this, because it won't be a uniform traffic ticket.
No,
It'll
it's-
be a county ordinance.
it's a county
So
ordinance.
we'll have a custom ticket made up.
Okay.
It
So
would not
you need to
hurt,
put the language in there, we need to identify the roads.
yes, it would not hurt for there to be conversations with your justice court judges so
Yeah.
that they understand what's coming
Yeah,
and that it's temporary.
all right.
Hopefully, it won't be many after you write a few.
So you gonna have it drafted for our next meeting, or we going?
If y'all
we
tell
need,
me
we
that
need
that's
something
where we're headed.
today. I mean, we need something today, cause this weekend, I know nobody from the state's gonna be down there this weekend.
Do we
I
want
don't know, it's
Mike?
a little.
Do we want Word helping Brian?
Oh,
Do we want Word helping?
I'm gonna let the sheriff
That's fine.
and Mike.
You know, I would say, I'll pay somebody, I mean, I'll put somebody down there 24/7, if y'all want the deputy assigned there 24/7, I'll work it out.
I think we can monitor it between all of us, you know.
I mean,
It
if
may
we
take-
can
it might
get-
take a little bit of that for a few
Well,
days.
If Mike Word would be willing to be like a county patrolman, because lives on Rock Hill Road, and he's there close, and if y'all want to call, he could.
So to kind of touch on what they just said, yesterday afternoon, the sheriff had deputies on both sides, and yesterday morning, I just went in the middle of Clifton Road, pulled off in a driveway, and just turned my lights on and sat there for 2.5 hours, just to slow them down, because they literally are running 45 and 50 miles an hour down Clifton Road. Now, if he's not running calls, he's got people there. That's one issue. The 2 trucks that I stopped yesterday, one on Clifton and then one was coming up 13. The one that was coming down 18 from Brandon, he had a pretty valid point that there were signs that did say, here's your exit, take, or the sign that said the alternative route, which is I-20 to 43, was set up past the point of no return, if you will.
Right.
He couldn't turn around. There was nowhere to go. And he was looking and looking and looking. The next thing he knows, he's at Clifton Road. There's
Right.
nowhere for him to go.
That's right. That's what happens a lot.
And he
of
saw the crane, which is why he didn't go straight, because he knew, looking at his GPS on his map, I'm at the point of no return, which is why he went down Clifton to try to get around. Pretty valid point. Their signs are not actually in the right place with the right information on them.
Exactly.
And it's gonna get extremely, extremely worse on May the 9th. I'm not sure if you've been made aware of that. May the 9th at 2 a.m., Interstate 20 eastbound is going to one lane. They are going to stop all interstate traffic. It's gonna go to one lane on the eastbound side at the 59, which is the co-op exit. All of that traffic is gonna go down the off-ramp, across Highway 80, back up the on-ramp, and turn back loose. They're gonna do some work on the bridge.
Right.
It's gonna last for 10 days. There will be Jersey barriers across Highway 80. Completely shut down Highway 80. There will be no cross traffic on 80 in either direction. And that is, to go back to what you were talking about MDOT, they're working on and basically shutting down their detour route for the Highway 18 project. So when we get the interstate traffic backed up to cross gates, most people are gonna say, hey, I can outsmart this, I'm gonna hit Highway 80. Y'all know how Highway 80 is right now. You think it's jammed up today? Wait until May the 11th.
Whose
It's gonna
district
get,
is that in, where? Brad's?
No, Mr. Gaines.
it's gonna get worse. It's gonna be really bad.
Y'all fix it.
So the
Be
truck
careful.
traffic, even this morning, I went and hung out on Clifton Road, and there were a couple of deputies that were coming through too. But my gosh, that thing, to pass, you have to get one tire off of the road, and there's no ditching. It's just a small road. It is what it is. And with those tractor trailers, once they make that turn, it's a moot point then. It is what it is.
I think we're all sold.
So-
We just need to know how we're gonna enforce this ordinance.
I mean, can I go ahead and make a motion to put an ordinance on these particular roads today? And we can take action from this day forward? Mr. Slay?
Yeah, we can, what we can do, and this is kind of stream of consciousness here, okay? This is just thinking out of my head, no real deliberation. But it seems like at this point, we've got to have some ticket that we can actually issue, Brad. I don't know if we can do that like today. I don't know if that can happen. It's gonna take a little while for us to get a ticket. The wording itself's gotta be dealt with, so to be able to enforce anything right now, Brad, today is probably unfortunately, is asking too much. I don't think we can do it accurately. And if we don't get it right, if we don't get the wording right, we're not gonna be able to enforce it when it finally gets to court anyhow. It'll be defective some way. So it's gonna take some effort to make sure we get the wording.
Well, we can just write it on sticky notes.
Yeah. So, well, and it
How
might
about
be
by
just as
Friday?
well. So
Signed
what
by
we
the sheriff.
can do.
What if we just take Brad's business cards?
You guys,
That'll work.
I'd like to see y'all consider asking the sheriff, and he can keep up with the cost, but ask the sheriff, let's have deputy presence 24/7, at least through Monday, until we can act on an ordinance and have wording on a ticket book that can be upheld in court. But that way you've got 24/7 deputy.
I would like to do exactly what you're saying and let Brian feel of the situation with his manpower and all. And if we need to, we can give him a man, Mike Word, to help with some of the hours or whatever. But I don't want it to be a turf type thing.
Right.
I want Brian to, if he needs,
I mean, this is gonna
invite
be a
us,
long
and we'll-
process.
It's just a temporary thing
Yeah.
on these, on this particular.
Yeah, really what I'm talking about here is to get me enough room for the next 5 days to be able to get everything organized for y'all to act on it officially on Monday.
Okay.
Just give me 5 days. No, we're not able to write a ticket yet, but just having the deputy presence there, that visual, I think, will be a big help.
Well, something's gotta happen though, just like what Mike was saying, cause I understand when you're driving those trucks, you get to the point you can't turn around, and you're looking to turn around, so the signage is where, you can't blame that guy. He's trying to do what he can do, he can't get around.
It'd help if we had a sign that says, trucks turn around here.
Right, that's right.
Yesterday, they put the sign that said bypass 20 and 49, or 20 and 43. They had it right there at Pope's Grove. But guess what? When everybody got Star Brandon Road,
They turned down Star Brandon Road.
That's what it say. They say they're not detouring on our local roads.
What's
That's where I
wrong
was
with Star
there.
Brandon
But
Road?
They actually are.
That's what I'm saying, but the signage
I
is
thought
part of the
That's a
problem.
state aid road
Yeah.
though.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
why
they-
these guys can't help
Not
it,
a
like
state
we were
road.
saying, Mike, that
Yeah.
The
can't help it.
Star Brand Road?
So
That's
I
not-
think it's gonna take MDOT a few days to get the
Yeah.
signage worked out, what I've dealt with.
So a better route would be what?
To stay on
To
20.
come back to Lewis Wilson?
Yeah, well, I mean, what they've got to do is, and what I recommended to MDOT yesterday, when you take the cross gates ramp, they need to put a sign on the ramp right there saying 18 is closed
Yes.
to a bridge out.
Yes.
Your detour is 20
Get back
to
on 20.
43.
Go all the way to Peleachi.
So at least he gets back on 20 and goes to Peleachi and comes back
That's
around.
exactly right. That's where the sign needs to be.
Right
If
now.
they put it on the overhead message boards on the
Yeah.
interstates in the metro would help a lot. The guy we talked to down on 18 was.
He said he didn't
say
have,
this, but he said it's good luck on that one.
yeah, he said he didn't have enough stroke to make
It'd be
that
better to
happen.
get them keep them on the interstate before you get them off
Yeah.
and then put them back on.
I agree 100%.
But,
I'm not a genius, but
I've-
that's what the message board was for.
I've called Transportation Commissioner 3 times, hadn't received a call back. I've called Sean Tindall with DPS. I've called Colonel.
Talk to you? No, you never did talk to him.
You couldn't get over Brad?
I've called Brad, but that's another subject.
anyway, I think it's gonna take a few days to get it all worked out, what Greg's talking about. I know I think I got an easy plan that'll make it work for all of us, and I know we're gonna have to change the signage, Sheriff, like you talked about. But the reason we put no trucks up there, because we didn't have an ordinance, so that's about all we could do. But my plan is to put some weight limits there, that's gonna make it real easy on everybody. If you're empty, an empty truck can go across the bridge on Shell Oil Road, or way back. But if he's loaded, he can't.
Who's gonna weigh him, Mike?
If he's empty.
Well, empty versus
If he's
any.
empty, it's no,
No issue.
no
Just-
issue.
My intention would be to work with Mike on the specific wording, but we know what an empty tandem should weigh, roughly 26,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So you set your max weight limit at 26,000. If he's empty, he's good. If he's not empty, he's over.
Yeah.
That's really easy. You don't need scales.
Yeah, we're gonna take the scales out of the question. I think that's where we got confused last time on yours, Daniel. You brought up, I mean,
You gave me a rule of thumb that if you can see the product in the top of the truck, it's probably outside the capacity.
Well, if he's got product in his truck, he's outside the capacity.
Yeah, I mean, in this case,
On
I'm just
this
saying that
case,
the other
right.
case you were giving me that he's probably over his tonnage limit.
Yeah.
If I can see the capacity of the.
Right.
If it's above the
product
side- if it's
above
above
the
the
edges of it,
sideboard,
he'd be out of it, so I
Above
need that little
sideboards.
street
Okay.
knowledge.
Well, it actually depends on if they got sideboards or not.
I have one little thing I just want to bring y'all.
Before we go,
Big
hey,
fish, I got-
Sheriff, if you don't mind, just between now and the next board meeting Monday, can you just get them lined up? Cause I mean, I don't know when they gonna leave today probably at 5 o'clock like they did yesterday. And I mean,
Yeah, don't you think just give them probably the primary place they need to sit there is Cleveland and 18, the best they can.
no, I mean, if they sit right there at Country Junction at Shell Oil and then right there at Rock Hill and Kirsch, one deputy on each end.
Oh, you want 2 deputies? Okay.
I mean, unless I can get somebody.
No, I was just gonna put 1 so they can work it back and forward, but I'll put 2.
What I'm saying is, if he's down there on Rock Hill and Kirsch, and then 18-wheeler already comes past Shell Oil, well, he's gonna have to turn around at Rivers, or he's gonna hit Clifton.
And we've been even trying to push the cars to quit going down Kirsch and pushing them to Shell Oil the other day when I was down there, Brian.
I mean, that's the safest route, is Rock Hill to Wade Patrick to Shell Oil, back to 18. And just keep all local traffic on Clifton and Kirsch. But I mean, that's not working out either, cause I mean.
No, somebody keeps moving my stuff.
It ain't working out either.
All right.
And I mean,
It's just gonna take training. I mean, this what I told Brad the other day. It's gonna take us landing it for a little while to train people to go this way.
All right, what you got? I gotta go.
Just a quick update. We run into a little storm issue the other day. That's more of mine and Craig's handling, but I just kinda hadn't really said nothing to Craig, but kinda wanted to, he beat on energy a little bit, so I'm gonna beat on him a little bit. Friday night, we had a tree go down. We had a major road shut down from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock the next day.
8 o'clock PM
Yeah,
to
4
4
o'clock.
o'clock the next day.
Right.
Okay.
We have no communication with energy. I mean, my only communication is through contractors that work with energy, just 'cause I know them. But you cannot call in, if you pick up the phone and call energy, you get New Orleans. And it is discouraging. I mean, me and Brian had to spend a bunch of overtime down there Friday night and Saturday, just because the tree was across the road. We couldn't get the tree out of the power line because it's in the power line. All they had to do was come in there and ground the system, got the wires out of the way, and we could open the road back up. Now, they may have had a closure while they had to repair the next day, but the road was completely shut down through the night. And people not knowing where to go and trying to detour people around somehow we've got to get a hold of energy that's here in Mississippi, Rankin County, that we got a better working relationship.
You would think.
Well, they've got a representative, but you can't get him on the phone, and he won't tell you nothing that's going on there, on it. But, you know, we just lost that piece, and somehow we, you know, I know we have these meetings with energy, and they say, well, we're gonna do better, and we're gonna do better. I don't know how we get them to do better, but, I mean, Southern Pine, I can pick up the phone, and they say, yeah, we got somebody, but I mean, somebody could've been, people couldn't even get to their houses in this section because of, you know, so it was kind of a pretty good safety issue. Knew we was gonna run up on it at some point in time, and it happened Friday night. So I need Craig to be able to reach out, and I don't know, we gotta muster it down, better than what we've got.
Well, y'all know better than I do. I don't think they're really happy with your board lawyer.
Well, we all can do, but I mean, there's nothing really we gotta make board action on. Sure, I think we can try to do it, but
I don't know, I think if Energy started to have to do permits like AT&T, and I mean, I hate to be that way, but if they had to start doing like AT&T and Ceasefire and everybody, I bet you we'd get a contact number.
Are they protected under?
Yeah.
They like to throw their weight around about FCC and FTC and basically their wholesale access to any public right of way, Steve. But there's always the option of some local regulation of their access to local right of way. We just can't run afoul of, and basically put them in a position where we are de facto preventing them from accessing the public right of way. Federal government's given a public utility like that essentially not quite unfettered, but almost unfettered access to public right of way.
Yep.
But, I mean, we got an incident, Jay's got a bridge down there I need to change out on Henderson Road. We can't change it out until we get a major feed out of a substation that's 6 foot off our white line. We can't even set a crane up to take a bridge down without getting the line moved. If it had been a permit process, I'm sure we could at least work around that issue, you know, but now we can't even get back to the local level to get that. It's act of Congress, I'm just telling y'all guys. So, any suggestions we can do, or y'all know anybody, be welcome to hear. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Brad, when you and Craig or whoever, can you give me a list of exemptions? Like,
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, Brian, I think we're gonna ask them to put something that is clearly visible to your folks in the window. So if it's the right size and color, they'll know by sight that's a
Mike.
permit.
I need some signs over those bridges in Henderson, please. Some signs on Henderson for the bridges.
Thanks for putting them up this morning.
All right, thank you.
All right,
We done?
do we have any other additional business to be discussed? Okay, let's move on. We have any reason to be an executive? All
Move
right,
quick.
I make a
So he
motion
won't change his mind.
to adjourn.
Second.
All right, made a motion to adjourn, Jay seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
This Tuesday night.